When you're learning a new language, you're not just memorizing words, right? You're actually learning how to tell a story. Your story. It's how you share who you are, everything you've done, and maybe even what you hope to do. Okay, but how do you actually do that? I mean, how do you talk about the really big stuff in life? The dreams of what could be, or maybe the memories of what had been. Those things aren't just simple vocabulary words. No way. They are entire grammatical structures that really give a story its heart. So let's see how this works in the real world. In this little breakdown, we're going to see exactly how grammar builds a story from the ground up. And we're going to learn two really fundamental Finnish concepts by following the journey of a guy named Martin and a huge, life-changing decision he's about to make. All right, first up is what's called the conditional. In Finnish, you'll often see this little isi ending. Just think of this as the grammar of possibility. It's the tool you use to talk about your dreams, to make promises, to wonder about what would or could happen. It's totally the language of the future. And then, on the flip side, we've got the pluperfect. It looks something like oli ollut. And this is the grammar of reflection. It's how you talk about things that had already happened before something else in the past. It's your go-to for looking back and sharing those deep experiences. So we've got the future, and we've got the past. Let's see them in action. Okay, so let's jump in and meet our main character, Martin. Because, look, to really feel the weight of the decision he's about to make, we first have to get a feel for the world he's living in. So Martin's life, it was busy, but our story really kicks off in those little pockets of freedom he managed to carve out for himself. And that opening phrase, on the rare occasions, that tells you so much, doesn't it? It just paints this picture of a life that's packed with obligations, which makes those few moments of joy feel, well, that much more precious. And what did he do with that precious free time? He spent it with his people, with his community. Playing soccer, that wasn't just a hobby for him. No, it was his connection to his brothers, to his friends. It's what really grounded him in his world. And believe me, this connection ran deep. With his friends, Ernesto and Laura, they shared literally everything, the big stuff and the small stuff, their problems, just grabbing lunch, and what the Finnish call huvit, just the fun times. This was way more than just friendship. It was a life built on totally shared experiences. But you know how it is. It's often when life feels the most settled, the most routine, that the biggest changes just arrive. And for Martin, he's about to make a decision that is going to redefine absolutely everything. So what does he do? He decides to leave it all behind and travel. Just think about that for a second. To just walk away from the shared problems, the lunches, those soccer games. It's a huge, monumental choice. And a choice that big, well, it comes with a promise. And boom, here it is, our first grammar point out in the wild. He promised he would write. In Finnish, kirjoittaisi. You see that easy ending? That's our conditional tense. It's not a guarantee, right? It's a promise about a possible future. It's like he's trying to build a bridge back to the world he's about to leave behind. Now, a decision this massive doesn't just happen in a vacuum, right? His choice sent these ripples through his entire community. And the reactions he got were, well, let's just say they were complicated. And you can pretty much see the reactions split into two totally different camps. On one side, you've got his friends, his boss, his colleagues, the people who saw him day in and day out. They understood. They just got it. But with his family, it was a different story. That connection was way more personal. And for his mom, this wasn't just some trip. It was a huge source of worry. Okay, and this next part is fascinating. His boss pulls him aside and confesses something. Hänellä oli ollut sama idea, which means he had the same idea. And there it is, our pluperfect. The boss is looking back, right? He's reflecting on a dream that he had long before his own life went down a different path with a wife and kids. This is such a brilliant example of how this piece of grammar lets us share these really layered, complicated past experiences. And because the boss gets it, because he remembers that old dream, he makes an offer. And guess what? He uses the conditional tense to do it. He says Martin could return, voisi palata, if or when he would get tired of all that traveling. See? It's not just a simple job offer. It's an open door, a possibility he's holding open for the future, all based on the shared understanding. Meanwhile, his brother's reactions were, well, they were all over the map. Just look at this. One brother thinks it's a huge mistake. Another one is totally inspired and actually wants to join him. And then the youngest one is just really sad to see him go. It's just a perfect picture of how this isn't just one guy's story anymore. It's about how a single dream can ripple out and affect an entire family. So, with all these different reactions swirling around him, Martin starts to take the final, concrete steps to turn this dream into his new reality. First thing he does, he rents out his apartment. A simple, straightforward sentence. Martin vuokrasi asantonsa. See? This isn't a could be or a had been anymore. This is the present. This is really happening. And then he prepared to leave. Ja valmistautui lähtemään. With that one last action, his old world is basically packed away, and the new one is just about to begin. So let's put it all together. When you look at the whole story woven together here in Finnish, you can really see how all these pieces work. This simple past tense sets the scene for us. Then the pluperfect lets us reflect on a past stream, oli ollut sama idea, and the conditional opens the door to that future promise, hän kirjoittaisi heille. This is how grammar actually works. It's not just rules, it's how you tell a complete human story. And you know, that brings us right back to where we started. Martin's story needed the right words for what he had, what he was leaving behind, and what he was hoping for. So that makes me wonder, think about your own life. If you had to tell your story right now in any language, what are the very first words you'd need to learn?